All right. Let's see now. Let me share the screen once more, and then I'll introduce you. Okay, Mark?
Sure. All right.
Here we go. Hello and welcome to another wonderful Saturday spirituality group. Our guest, Mark Patterson, is a renowned sound healer whose gift emerged from a transformative near death experience. Praised by best selling authors, he's known for his powerful vocal toning and healing abilities. He's spoken at global expos and conferences, and over 2 million people have watched him share his NDE featured in Touched by the Light, now available on Amazon. Widely regarded as one of the most moving afterlife accounts, Mark continues his work from Asheville, North Carolina. Learn more at markpatterson.com. That's mark-patterson.com. And follow him on Instagram at Sedona Mark Patterson or YouTube at Sedona Sound Healer. Welcome, Mark.
Wow, that was impressive. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that introduction. Thank you. Thank you so much for everyone joining today, and we'll see what we can cover in the next hour or so, or what do we have planned?
Oh, well, now you have, with your gift of gab, Mark,
All right.
you have 30 minutes to say whatever you want, and then we'll open it up for a Q&A. How about that?
All right. Well, just quickly, what is it that we
What
want?
is
What would you like me to talk about? I mean, whatever. I mean, sky's the open. I can talk about pretty much anything, anything metaphysical. But I'll just. Is there anyone who has seen one of my podcasts before?
I think it was
Anyone?
only me, Mark.
Only you? Okay, all right. So I just want to talk a little bit about healing real quick, because I do a lot of qigong healing. I do a lot of um, breathwork healing, and then I'll go into my experience and what happened to me. But I don't know if you can see this, but I get so much heat in my hands that my hands will blister up. That's how much the chi will flow through me, and I'll get my hands going, and they get really hot, and I get really hot when I start doing the breath work and qigong that I've been practicing qigong for 30 years now. I've taught it for the last 8 or 9, and I've really have devoted my I devote about 3 hours a day to qigong and really wanting to really take that to a higher level. But anyway, my name is Mark Patterson. Thank you so much for joining us today. There's a million things that someone could do on a Saturday morning. So I'm glad that we're all here. We're all here for a reason. There's no accidents or coincidences in life, and we're all brought together for a purpose and a meaning. And so, as a child, I was very psychic. I always knew things about people that I wasn't supposed to know. I saw the auras and lights around people. Unfortunately, I was told that I was crazy. Why do you know that? You shouldn't know that. Don't ever talk about that. And so I learned not to trust me because it's very confusing to have these experiences like when you see the UFOs and ETs as a child and no one else can see them, no one else knows about them, or they just think you're crazy. So it was very confusing to me growing up. The only time I ever felt loved, I would have this dream over and over again during my childhood that I would find myself in my bedroom closet. And inside my bedroom closet, I felt loved, I felt valued, I felt all the things I wanted to do, like Disneyland, Disney World, Winnie the Pooh, Tigger, were always inside my bedroom closet, in that dream. I've had countless encounters with ETs. Some of them were very intrusive. Some of them were very loving, and and you couldn't really talk to people about it because they didn't. For one thing, they just didn't believe you, and if they listened to you, they thought you were absolutely crazy. So by the time I was 13 years old, 14 years old, I was consuming alcohol, and I'm not talking about Miller Lite or Bud Light or wine coolers. I was consuming Jim, Jack, Johnny, anything because that was the thing that numbed uh, everything out because I didn't want to feel anymore. I didn't want to see anymore. I didn't want to know anymore because it was painful to be always to have that knowledge and information. So when I was 16, I was at a high school party, February 1986, at the Canterbury Inn in Coralville, Iowa. And I tried to impress my older classmates and friends by chugging a fifth of vodka, four beers, two glasses of wine, and three wine coolers in about 90 minutes. Uh, Needless to say, my body went into cardiac arrest from acute alcohol poisoning. My skin was purple, green, and black. And I was completely dead, comatose, unconscious, whatever you want to call it, on the bathroom of that suite of the Canterbury in Coralville, Iowa. And as I left my body, I was in a panic because when anyone that has had a near-death experience will tell you when you first leave your body, it's frightening, it's scary, because you're trying to get attention of the kids that were just, a couple hours prior to that, in a circle around you going chug, 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 go, 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 and you can't get their attention. And the next thing I knew, I was greeted by my grandfather, Russell, Russell, who had passed away when I was 2 or 3 years old. And he informed me that I was going home. And, my initial thought was, oh, wow, you really messed this one up. You kind of messed, you dropped the ball in this life here, Mark. So then I went into the light, and it's the most beautiful, angelic, peaceful, harmonious sound. It's called the Elohim, the angels that sing to God. And the next thing I know, there were about 7 angels. They were 14 feet tall each. They were female in appearance. And uh, my life from conception to 16, you do this thing, it's called a life review. All right, there's no judgment, there's no hell. Um, but there is a life review. You do review your life and you do experience, like if you really hurt someone, maybe not from a malicious intent, but from an unconscious awareness, you experience that from their point of view so that you have a greater compassion and understanding of them. All right. And so anytime that I was angry, resentful, or blamed other people, which is all that you ever do when you're a teenager, right? They asked me, how does that relate to love? And everything in life becomes an opportunity to express love. Forgiveness is for giving your love away no matter what happens to you. Forgiveness is for giving your love away no matter what happens to you. Now, if you're always out getting the Mercedes, the house, uh, the different things, you're out for getting the material stuff, and material things are important, don't get me wrong. You are really forgetting who you really are. And so, again, the words of how much you are loved, no matter what you do or don't do, I cannot describe. I've been allowed to go back to that experience a few times in my dream state, where people would call having an out of body experience, just to remind you of how much love there is for us. And then they introduced me to a being that was about 30 feet tall, who had much love for me. Um, it was a male being, 30 feet tall. And that being formed an icosahedron. And simultaneously, in this one like breath, however you want to call it, because this is a multidimensional universe, there are parallel realities. We live parallel lives. Um, in one breath, I I watched the soul that was in my body from conception to 16 go with Russell, uh, and this 30-foot being formed a geometric pattern called the icosahedron, came into my heart and brought me back to life. So in New Age terms, I'm a walk-in. Another soul came in and took over for me when I was 16 years old. Now, it's my understanding now, as I have studied this for many, many years now, that that was an aspect of myself in the future. That that Barbara Ann Brennan wrote the book Hands of Light, and on page 262 it says, "Future lifetimes can be placed in the auric field at the beginning of birth, and can be taken on at the completion of a lifetime if an individual so chooses." So, in a sense, I'm a walk-in. Another sense, an aspect of me from the future came back through time and space to be here now. I always joke about this. I say, I evolved 5 lifetimes with a fifth of vodka. Please don't try that at home. You may not get the same results as I did. Um, so, uh, we are multidimensional, um, and again, time is so, like, what passed away for whatever it was, 22, 23 minutes. I was downloaded a whole bunch of information about healing through sound, vocal toning, sacred geometry, the flower of life symbol, and specifically, they talked to me about the Melchizedek priesthood. In the Bible, it says, Jesus is like Melchizedek, and thou shalt forever be um, uh, a priest of the Melchizedek order. And so uh, it took me so the being comes back, brings you to life. It took me about 3 or 4 days to know who I was and what was going on, because all I heard was this voice say, um, "You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay." My mom, everyone around me was about this tall to me. Everyone was tiny. And about the fourth or fifth day, everything snapped into place. That I was Mark. I was 16 years old. I was a sophomore at Iowa City West. And one of Mark's favorite things to do was play baseball. And I was at one time pretty good at it. And these are my friends. But it took 4 or 5 days to kind of really snap into place, because Barbara Marciniak, who wrote the book Bringers of the Dawn, talks about the identity of who we are is in our blood and bones. So it encapsulated all those things. And so people always ask me, well, what did I notice? Did I notice anything different about me from the first soul and the second soul? Well, the second soul made me more psychic. I was already psychic enough. I didn't need to be any more psychic, but it made me that way. And speaking of baseball, my childhood friend Peter and I, we were playing at an all-state tournament in Iowa. And after the tournament was done, and we were doing a lot of double headers, it was long, hot days. We went to his parents' cabin in Sturgeon Bay, Door County, Wisconsin, which is one of the most beautiful places in America. And while I was there, one morning I got up and I went to Peter's mother, and I said, "You have to call your daughter right now and tell her not to come up." And they looked at me like I was crazy. And I was like, "No, you don't understand. She can't be here right now." So later that night, Peter's mom came into the room and said, "I know that we've been arguing, and maybe you're upset about that, but she's getting married. She's bringing her fiance up here, and we're really looking forward to spending time together." And I was like, "No, you don't understand. She can't be here right now. Just tell her not to come." And so the next day, I told her again. I said, "Look, call your daughter right now. Tell her not to come. She can't be here." And they got so upset with me, they put me on the Greyhound bus the next morning. Their daughter was killed in a car accident on the way up. So I was like, "I don't want to do this." I was, you told me what you wanted me to do. I delivered the message, and she's dead. And it took me years. I'm talking years to make peace with that, because I kind of felt responsible for her dying, even though I wasn't. You know, I but I took that on. So I didn't drink, but after that whole experience, I did. I mean, I smoked marijuana, hash, sinsemilla, Thai stick almost every day from 16 to 18, just so I wouldn't feel. I didn't want to I didn't want to know stuff. And around the age of 18 years old, my other childhood friend, Toby, his mom introduced me to Dick Sutphin, who wrote the book, a multi-million dollar best-selling copy book, You Were Born Again to Be Together, about soulmates and reincarnation. And then she also introduced me to Jerry Bowman and Joe Albiani. They did the Out of the Ordinary show in Los Angeles, California on KIEV. Joe Albiani was a attorney out of Boston, and Jerry Bowman was a Vietnam vet who was a trance channel. And Jerry Bowman would go into a trance and he would channel John the apostle, John from the Bible. And many of you have probably not heard of either Jerry Bowman or Joe Albiani, but you've probably heard of Shirley MacLaine. Shirley MacLaine's channel was Kevin Ryerson. Kevin Ryerson also channeled John. Well, I listened to Jerry go into a trance and listen to John deliver these profound messages. And the next thing I know, Dan, is that John is speaking to me like you and I are talking right now. And he would say things like, we never use the truth to be right. We never use the truth to make others wrong. We never use the truth to score points for our ego. We never use the truth to belittle others. He would say things like, a master is not a master because he himself says so. Sorry, a master is not called a master because he himself says so. A master is called master because those who witness him say that he is master. He would say things like, the kingdom of God is within you. Why do you seek anything else? And the one that would always get me as, you know, do you really want to experience your life as anything less as the one we would say was Jesus? And, you have to understand when you're 18 or 19 years old, there's too many blondes, there's too many brunettes, there's college football. And, 30 some years later, you kind of wish that you would have listened more or pay attention more. But so from around 18 to 25, John gave me a lot of information. And then I think the last couple of years, he's returned to me in the dream state. We've, restarted our dialogue. He keeps telling me I need to move to Colorado, Castle Rock area, south of Denver. I'm not so sure if I'm excited about that or not. But we'll find out. So that was around the time I had my first mediumship experience where someone was talking to me. But he was talking about I once saw another medium in Iowa, and so I just went forward a few years to 1992. I was living in Charleston, South Carolina at the time. And I was reading the book Bringers of the Dawn by Barbara Sinek, which is a channeled message from the Pleiadians. And I was also watching the Flower of Life tapes with Drunvalo Melchizedek, which is about sacred geometry, sound, the pyramids, the Sphinx. And I was a server at a restaurant called 82 Queen in Charleston. In fact, it's still there. And I'm watching the videotapes, and this guy comes into our restaurant for 5 nights in a row. And each and every night he ends up in my section, which is physically impossible, mathematically impossible. There's 12 or 13 sections, and every night you have 13 servers, and you're always rotating. And the last night he's there, he's with his son Sean, who's my age, and his wife. And I hear this female angel come to me, and she goes, "We need you to talk to him about the videotapes you're watching right now." And I'm just like, no, I've got 6 tables. We have an hour and a half wait. I'm in the weeds. And I'm just like, no, it's, not going to happen. So they go, no, we really need you to do this. It's really important. I'm like, no. So I go to leave the table. I was physically pushed back by an unseen force to go back in front of the table. And the female voice goes, no, you need to do this. Please talk to him about the videotapes you're watching right now. So I think, what the hell am I going to ask this guy? And so I finally go, are you a mathematics professor? He looks at me and goes, Mark, what did you really want to ask me? And I'm like, well, I'm watching these videotapes about the pyramids, the Sphinx, the Flower of Life symbol. And he looks at me and goes, Mark, Drunvalo Melchizedek, you have those tapes. I have to have those videotapes. I'm like, well, they're not mine, but I can call Rosemary the next day and see if I can give them to you. So I called Rosemary the next day. I was like, hey, this guy's adamant that he's got to have these tapes. Can I give them to him? She's, yeah, sure. I don't know. Why not? I meet him and Sean, his son, the next day, give him the videotapes. I don't hear anything from him. 3 months pass. I go to work one morning, and the same female angel comes back to me, and she goes, we need you to go to your manager, and you have to tell her that you have to go home. I'm like, it's like I just came to work. They're expecting me to work today. What are you talking about? They go, no, you need to go home right now. And like, oh, okay. So I go up to Missy. Her name is Melissa Miller. She went by Missy. I'm not feeling well. Is it okay if I go home? Oh yeah, Mark, it's not a problem. We were going to send someone home anyway today. So the female angel comes back to me and goes, we need you to go directly to your place. Please do not stop anywhere on the way. Okay. So it takes me about 25 minutes to get to where I was living from 82 Queen in downtown Charleston. As I open the door, the phone rings. It's Roger, who I gave the videotapes to. He's calling me from France, and he says, how would you like to work with Drunvalo in person? I'm like, yes, absolutely. What do I need to do? Where's it at? It was actually up here in this area, Copecrest, Georgia, which is real close to the North Carolina, Tennessee border. And so I'm like, what do I need to do? He says, hey, everything's been paid for. Thank you for the videotapes. So I got to spend about 10 days with Drunvalo when he was doing the full classes that were 12 to 14 hours a day. Of course, I lived in Sedona, Arizona for almost 15 years, and I would run into Drunvalo a lot when I was there. And so I guess we're getting close to 30 minutes. So I'll conclude this. But anyway, so a few years around that, couple of years after that, I was in Iowa for the summer doing some things. And I get a phone call at 1:30 in the morning from a woman I never met, never spoke with before. I don't know how she got my number. And she described my NDE verbatim, which I had told maybe 2 people about. I only told 2 people about my NDE, and this is almost 10 years later. This was, I don't know, 95 or 96. And I mean, not only did she described my NDE, she talked about sacred geometry, healing through sound, the Melchizedek priesthood. She described the 30-foot being that came into my body. And then she goes, oh, by the way, you used to have this dream when you were a child that you were inside your bedroom closet where you always felt loved and that you belonged. And so people asked me over the years if she was a real person. Yes, I met her. And then she goes, Mark, I got to tell you something else. Because I said, yeah, I'm getting ready to go back to Charleston, South Carolina. And she says, you're not going to Charleston. You're going to go to Las Cruces, New Mexico. You need to go to college there. I'm like, no, I just called Harvey. Everything is good. Harvey was the owner of 82 Queen. Everything's lined up and I go back to work. Everything is set up. I didn't know anything about Las Cruces, New Mexico. No desire to go there. I certainly didn't want to go to college. And she was like, no, you're going to go to Las Cruces. You need to go there. No, I'm good. Click. The very next day, I get a phone call from Luis Vasquez, who again, I don't know how he got my number. I had not heard from him in years. He was like my childhood mentor. He was by trade, he was a guidance counselor. He said, "Hey, Marcus, want to see what you're up to? Just wanted to let you know, I just took a job as the associate head of psychology department at New Mexico State in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And I really think that you should come to school here. And I think that, if you need help getting in, I can get you in." So yeah, I ended up going to graduate school at New Mexico State University in Las Cruces. It's probably the most difficult 6 years of my life. If you know that area, Las Cruces, New Mexico, El Paso, Texas, that's kind of where the Apache and Mescalero were from. They were the toughest of the Native Americans. And of course, the metaphor is the desert. In the desert, there's nowhere to hide. There's only shadows. So anyway, I can go on and on about this stuff, but we are at our 30-minute point, and I'd be glad to entertain questions or answers. But I guess people always ask, well, what did you learn from your near-death experience? One, you're loved. You're loved no matter what you do. You cannot fail. You cannot fail at being human. There are only actions and consequences. Well, if there's all this love and God is loving and God is forgiving, why does my life suck? Why is there so much suffering on this planet? It's because you wanted someone to forgive. Your soul wanted someone to forgive, and they wanted someone to express forgiveness to. And your soul wanted to demonstrate the power of love and what love can do to transform life on the planet. Of course, we forget all of that. And last, you're never alone. Your guides, your angels are always with you. You're absolutely never alone. You are multidimensional. Uh, we've incarnated many times. We've done all things, both good and bad. We've experienced all things, and you are a unique, precious child of God. You're a wonderful human being with so much to share, and that God's presence, whether you call it Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, Sai Baba, No Baba, whatever you want to call it, is within you right now today, and you don't have to die in order to experience it. You are the way. You are it. You are that divine expression of God, and this is God comes to know the world through you as you. And no one, absolutely no one benefits from you playing small. No one benefits from your voice not being heard. No one benefits from you having financial challenges. No one benefits from you not being who you're meant to be, because you're meant to be powerful, because you are.
That's lovely, Mark. Um, I was, my question to you is the voices of angels and guides who actually who tried and often successfully steered you onto different adventures. Um, do you feel like they were trying to help you to discover your purpose? And if you have discovered it, what is your purpose?
uh, I think that divine guidance is always available to us. Wayne Dyer, he said that life was never meant to be a struggle, but we struggle with who we really are, and that we resist who we really are. And everything, those struggles in life become a reflection of our own resistance. So I think guides are always guiding us to be on purpose, to be what is my purpose? I mean, to emulate Christ. I mean, the whole reason why we're here right now in this time, when you see all the chaos in the planet, is to restore heaven on earth. And that we do that by remembering who we really are. Because once you remember who you really are, the world of chaos will no longer apply to you. And I know that Harvey had his hand up for a while now.
Yeah, I love the synchronicity of this because I just received an email from IONS, the Institute of Noetic Sciences. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Somewhat.
Well, this is what they sent just today or yesterday, I think it was. It says, are you a medium wanting to contribute to cutting edge research from the comfort of your home? IONS is seeking mediums to join our study where we delve into the mysteries of human consciousness and intuition using the latest technology. Would you like me to send that to you?
Yeah, I would definitely be interested in that. That would be great.
Just give me your email and I'll put it in the chat and I
I'll
will
put it in
send
the
it to
chat.
you.
Okay.
I'll forward it to. By the way, this is for anybody else in the group who might have the same kind of interest. So anyone in the group would like to receive this email, I'll be happy to forward it to them as well.
All right. So Harvey, Mark put his email in the chat.
I'm getting it right now.
And I'd like to say
Thank
hi,
you, Harvey.
Eric. Hi, Eric. Hi, Mika. Hi, Mika. How are you guys doing? Thumbs up from Eric.
Oh, thanks. I'm just a latchkey kid from Iowa. Anyone else have some questions?
I would say one thing. I notice like sometimes patterns like with numbers and when that happens, it can be like I just very distinct patterns. Like I always hit a three or I always whatever it has been. I guess I don't always think about it, so it's kind of hard to just like tell a story. But when that's happening, I usually take it as like a sign that I'm on the right path, that there's something like I'm not fully conscious of, but that's working through me. And I just and it does. I mean, it just goes beyond coincidence sometimes, and I take it as a sign that, where whatever I'm experiencing is in touch with, in line with something in the universe, that I'm in line with some channel in the universe. And I take it as usually encouraging. It could be bad too, but
Well, the goal is to get out of good and bad, right and wrong, good and evil. I mean, I know I'm very outspoken in certain things, but ultimately I also have to realize that there is only one, there is only one collective. There's only light or the absence of light, but it's still a part of the whole. And you have to get out of, unity consciousness or restoring heaven to earth is about getting out of duality consciousness and getting out of, the polarizations. This is Peter, right? Peter, you are the one who just asked this?
yes.
Okay. So like a lot of times, like you'll see like the numbers 1111, 444, 888, 1234. Those numbers, when you keep seeing those over and over again, they're really designed to do one thing, that is to raise your vibration. All these things are working towards raising your vibration, because the more that you clear your energy out, the more that you clear your auric field, the traumas and all the things, the more you're able to receive higher dimensional knowledge and information. But they're just things of encouragement to keep you motivated and things like that, to raise your vibration. Yeah.
Mark,
Yes.
I was diagnosed with a mental illness, and my symptoms were to hear voices, and the voices kind of went like around on repeat, a lot of like jarring and voices that knocked me out of my comfort zone, made me feel a lot of fear. So, but your voices were freaking beautiful angels and guides who actually talked about who actually guided you in terms of real life action on this planet, whereas mine were just sort of just tormenting me. How come like millions of us with my diagnosis experience what we experience, and then a few chosen folks like you experience what you experience?
Well, if I knew the answer, I'd probably be a billionaire, but I'm gonna throw some. First of all, we all, first of all, we all have our demons. We all have our issues. We're all fragmented to one degree or the other. And Jesus kind of represented the whole being, right? So a lot like my father was bipolar, manic depressant, paranoid schizophrenia, but from my own intuition, not because they talked about this, it's my understanding that he had a profound psychic experience, like with an angel or a guide. But because of his devout religion, being a Jesus zealot, he was convinced that it was some type of satanic experience, and he just he shut it off. So a lot of times, the reason why we have mental things is because we have such a hard time being in our body. If you're fully grounded in your body, you're fully present in your body, you're fully present with life, those outside interferences are hard, but it's real easy to leave our bodies. It's real easy not to be in our bodies. And that's when we become more open to hearing things. And there's all kinds of beings out there. And it's like, you could have, since we're talking about polarization, you could have a person that has guides that tell them that Trump is the savior of humanity. Another person could have guides that say, well, Trump's the Antichrist. A lot of our guides and angels are just merely reflections of our own beliefs. And what you believe is what you attract. Does that make sense?
Yeah, even like Carl Jung talked about this, like the what comes from the unconscious, or sometimes referred as the subconscious,
Right.
Can manifest in terms of dreams. And I've also heard it said like the psychosis experience is a breakdown between the dream world and the material accepted reality.
But you also have to realize that you have the power within, that you are more powerful than the voices, that you are more powerful than, and it's up to us to discern what is true for you. To thy own, know thyself, and to thy own self be true. And also don't make yourself bad. Just say this is just a situation, and my situation can change. And Harvey's got his, and we're gonna go to Harvey.
Dan, are you familiar with the Hearing Voices Network?
Oh,
I'm
yes.
Not, yeah.
Hmm?
I'm not. No.
Yeah. And one of the things that fits nicely into the work that I'm doing currently is No Bad Parts, the book that I've been discussing. That whatever those voices were are not bad. They're simply protecting you in some fashion, and to become an ally to them and to love them for what they're doing for you instead of to you could be very useful.
Along those lines, I would say that, like, because I've dealt with possessions before, and I've dealt with quote demons. If a quote dark being is revealing itself to you, it's begging you to help it go back into the light. It's asking for your help to get it to go back into the light. And you just have to know that you have the power within you to do that. And I know that sometimes that's scary or can be frightening, but you really are. John 10:34 says, "Ye are gods." He didn't just say that because he had nothing better to do. That's what he's trying to teach people, that heaven's within you, God's within you, whatever you think God is. But it's within you right now, today, here. It's at hand, meaning it's here now.
All right, yeah, Angela said something in the chat. Marcus Rahm started that Hearing Voices research in Europe years ago. Okay, I guess that's for Harvey. All right, why don't we just go around and check in with everyone at this point, because we don't have too much time left, you guys. I'm sorry, a bunch of you guys have missed a bunch of what Mark had to say, but it's all being recorded, so you'll get the recording later. But I'm glad we have a nice small group of 10 folks. So, Mika, are you there, Mika?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me? Oh,
Yeah, how you feeling?
hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing all right today. I am glad that I was able to catch a little bit of what Mark was saying. I would like to ask a question. So
Yeah,
I
sure,
was
go ahead.
able to, yeah, I was able to hear you speak about forgiveness. And actually today I was kind of journaling about forgiveness, and how sometimes it can feel like a burden in mentioning some of the things that you said, like if the other party continues to appear successful, and um, how like your own demise is not benefiting the world. So my question is to you, like, what does that forgiveness actually feel like? What does that relief or release
So
feel
real,
like?
real, so
Yeah.
real forgiveness,
Yes.
genuine forgiveness is not just saying, I forgive you, then you effing
Yeah. Yeah,
butthole,
because I was actually
right?
like watching a movie and they always show, anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
You're okay, I'm
I thought it
listening.
was really interesting that the movie showed that forgiveness is setting up a boundary. So anyways, I just, yeah.
No, that's valid, but genuine forgiveness is when you can wholeheartedly thank them, when you can have sincere appreciation because they are just showing you you. They are just mirrors of you. It's like, people don't reject us. They're just mirrors of our own self-rejection. There is no them. It's it's one. And this is one of the truths of the seven Essenes. Jesus was an Essene, and they taught that everything in life is a direct reflection of what's going on within you. And that's a bitter pill to swallow sometimes. But then you don't beat yourself up for it. It's just an opportunity for you to forgive yourself. And it's just the best way to neutralize it is to say it was just a situation. And now I can create other it was just a situation. I'm not trying to downplay it, but that's how you want to get to neutrality. So that you're not in these extreme, like, you know, from the quote woke to the quote MAGA. We are so polarized in the world right now. It's unbelievable. And Mika, you kind of went silent. Did what I say
Oh,
make sense?
yeah. I've heard that before. I don't know. I was just really more curious about the how it feels rather
Well,
than,
it's going to feel different for everyone. But
yeah.
you know, the reality is that all the anger and resentment and bitterness that you might have towards someone, that effing butthole that did that to me, that mother, that hurts you. It does not hurt them. So you might as well let it go.
Mhm.
All
Thank you.
right.
It's important to feel anger. It's important to feel that you're upset. It's important to validate that you were hurt, but holding on to it's like, Joyce Meyer says, non-forgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Yeah, I've heard that. Okay. Thank you.
Right?
Thanks,
You
Dan.
bet.
Thanks,
Sure,
Mark.
you're welcome. Thank you for joining us today. And to me, it doesn't matter the numbers. It's it's the intent that you came together, that we're getting to share and exchange information, and someone might say something to me that's going to benefit me, and I might say something that's going to benefit you. So we're all here helping each other. So numbers don't matter.
How about you, Eric? Is there anything on your mind?
I'm moving around and just getting settled. It's nice, really nice to be here with you as long as I can. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to be here earlier today.
Are you
It's okay.
driving right now?
No,
Oh, I thought, okay.
I'm out of the
So,
car, but
oh, okay. So but your body's moving? All right, never mind. Yes. Okay. Laura, how are you? Laura, do you have any questions for Mark or any thoughts?
Well, more thoughts, I think, I'm actually I was surprised and happy you had mentioned Carl Jung. You know, in some of your experience, I'm kind of in a place right now where I'm getting to know my spirit guides again, and going different places in the depths of that. And I think that, when I had mental health symptoms, I really felt like I was not in control of that. And, it led me to, potentially being vulnerable to doing things that, you just can't, if you're in mental health symptoms, you can't be putting yourself in risky situations. So, and you can't really control that, or I can't control that. So, I use the medications to help me kind of balance that. But lately, sometimes I put myself in an altered state or do some deep meditation. And, I've been hearing, higher, uh, higher entities or something like that just give me messages that make sense. And, and really are in a positive light. So I've felt good about that. But then there's also just deeper levels of, going into a void and just feeling nothing. And, and I know that something's around the corner, with me moving forward with life and meeting people and stuff like that. So I'm glad that I was able to hear you talk a little bit today about some of the stuff that you've gone through and what kind of, what you've come to understand what it all means. So
Excellent.
Right. Let's see who we have here. Okay, how about Emmeline? Do you have any thoughts?
Hi, everyone. Lovely to be here. It's been a while, so I'm happy to see your faces and lovely to meet you, Mark.
Oh, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. I joined a bit late, but there's just a quote from Meister Eckhart that popped into my mind when talking about forgiveness. And he says there's a place in the soul where we've never been wounded. And so
Right.
it's about rejoining the deeper depth of that place that is permanent, immutable, untouchable, pure, divine, cannot be hurt, cannot be changed. And I know that personally helps me with the process of integrating on an experiential level of wisdom, the process of forgiveness.
Right.
I have. It just made me think of that.
It's a great quote.
How, Angela, are you able to talk to us? Would you like to talk to us, Angela?
Yes, I'm really glad I was here this morning. I really enjoyed your talk, Mark. I mean, I resonated with so much stuff that you said. But
Oh,
early
thank you.
on, when you first started talking, you mentioned Qigong and the heat from your hands as part of healing. That was related to the Qigong?
Yeah, I practiced Qigong since 1995, so 30 years, but I've really, since 2017, 2018, I really have devoted 2 or 3 hours a day to doing it and to the breath work. And I was in November of, oh God, almost 5 years ago, November 20, I was downloaded a really powerful breathing technique that's on my website. It's called the 12 breath method. And I forewarn people, it's intense, but it's really, it's one of the most powerful breathing techniques that I'm aware of anyway. And I've done a lot of Qigong. I did a program with Bruce Francis, got in El Paso, Texas when I was in undergraduate school. And Bruce was paralyzed from the neck down. He was told he would never walk again. And he's the only, to my knowledge, he's the only Western white dude that was allowed to train with the Shaolin monks. And I watched Bruce throw people, like in Star Wars The Force, 5 to 7 feet with his mind. And he was 2 to 3 feet away from him, and he would just wave his hand like that, and they would go 5 to 7 feet, and they smacked the wall. They did it for 12 people in a row. And I mean, I've with Dr. Shaw out in California. He does the light transmissions. I've seen some of his. I mean, I know some of his trainers, and I've seen him do the same thing. And so the Qi, the Force, what the Taoist. It's not really
Well, you know,
Qigong's.
one of them,
It's not really
one
not
of,
really a Buddhist thing, but it's a Taoist thing. But so the Force is real.
so
Start
one of the
that.
reasons I found it interesting was because you're talking about the late 90s here. And around that time, I was facilitating support groups. And one of the people
Mm,
in one of the groups gave me a book on Qigong, and I wasn't too into it. But then I was at a conference with some friends, and one of them had a really bad experience on stage while she was speaking. And she was so shook up. A bunch of us went back to her room with her to try to calm her down. And I
mm,
put my hand on her back, and she was like, where did you find a heating pad?
mm.
I, yeah, I had no idea. She was experiencing heat from my hand. And it was just, I just made that connection when you were talking about it. But
Yeah,
a lot of what you said really resonated with me. Thank
oh,
you.
no, you're welcome. Thank you. But I always remind people that, you know, uh, his name wasn't Jesus. His name was Yahuwah or Yeshua. He said even greater miracles than these he can also do. I think we tend to forget that, or we tend to dismiss that. I think that, we tend to deny it because we're so ingrained with this total outrageous lie that we are sinners born in sin. That's because the church doesn't want you to remember who you are, because if you did that, you wouldn't need them. You are your own savior. You're your own. You know, don't don't vote for you. You're
Chris,
your own. You're your own president. You know, vote for you. So
Chris, I would like to pass it over to you. I made you co-host. I hope that I know that there's a lot on your mind, I'm sure. And can you take over for the last 30 minutes?
Sure, sure. Happy to. Yeah, hi. Thanks, Mark, for sharing your story.
oh, thank you. Thanks for having me, Chris.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Resonated, lots of stuff. I also began binge drinking heavily at age 13. I don't recommend it. But it does numb. It does numb things very well. What I was curious about is part of your story, it involves sound healing as well that you got in. Can you touch on that a little bit? That's something that I've really in the last handful of years come to recognize the power of sound healing and what it can, accomplish.
So sure Deb, who was the woman that called me in whatever 95 or 96 and described my NDE, even though I'd only told 2 people. The girl I was dating at the time in Charleston, Kirsten, and my friend Dean, who's a chiropractor and acupuncturist in Iowa City. He's still there. He's the one that got me involved in Qigong. So she told me that I had this gift with sound that I didn't really understand, and I was going to come into it. So before leaving Charleston, and I'll get to sound, trust me. Before leaving Charleston and moving to Las Cruces, I was in a Reiki circle at the Unity Church on Leeds Avenue in North Charleston. And we were just all experimenting with sound, like the Who sound. So the Who sound is the sound that the owl makes. Who. That's the sound that opens your heart chakra. And then unfortunately it does not come through very well on Zoom. I've got a $200 Sennheiser microphone. I have this mixing board over here that you can't see, and no matter what I do, I cannot get the sound to come through. So one day, maybe if I step back a little bit. Pure tone comes through me, which is 396 hertz. And that's when, and so I tend to leave. And the hawthorns, I've been to Egypt 3 times, and hawthorns have the really large ears. They look like big elves. They're the goddess of music and sound. They tend to come through me, when I do that. And so August 17th, 1997 was the first time I presented that sound in public for about 200 people at a religious science church called the Mastery and Life Center. And after doing that tone for about 10 minutes, the angels spoke to me and said, stop what you're doing and open your eyes and see what happened. And we noticed that about 100 to 120 people were out, just completely, like when a hypnotist goes sleep. And so in presenting that tone for 30 years now, we found that tone has its own consciousness, its own awareness. So Chris, if you have pain in your back, and Emily, you have pain in your neck, and Laura, you have pain in your hip, and Harvey has pain in his side, that tone will go to each individual person's greatest point of pain and break it up. Then it'll clear your energy field out. It resolves and dissolves all the negativity in your energy field. And then Neuromagic Brain States in Sedona, Arizona, using a software program called Neuromagic, a $40,000 software program, showed that my tones balance, since we're talking about mental health, this is so important, that it'll balance the beta, theta, alpha, and delta waves in the correct ratio to release anxiety and to help people sleep better at night. So if you want to get into sound and why sound is so important, first of all, the Christian Bible says in the beginning was the word of God, meaning what's the sound of God. The Hopi elders and Anasazi elders would tell stories that the elders would sing crops into the cornfields, and they'd produce kernels of corn the size of most men's thumbs. The book Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield talks about singing to plants to heal them and to make them grow. If you know that Buddha, Krishna, Yogananda, Sai Baba, Mir Baba, Yeshua, they all have that ah sound, right? You following this? Well, Hans Jens developed cymatics, and cymatics shows that when you run a sound wave frequency through a sand filing with magnets, each thing will produce its own geometric pattern, which we know is like a bee will produce a geometric pattern. That is their collective consciousness. That's represented by geometry. Everything is based on geometry and math on this planet. So they found that when they run the ah sound through an oscillator or through the cymatics, it produces the Hindu symbol of God called the Sri Yantra, which is the 27 interlaced triangles. It doesn't kind of look like it, well, maybe if I turn this way or that way, it makes that symbol each and every time. So the ah sound is a sound of creation itself. But if you really want to understand why sound is important to you and the planet, there's a gentleman called Dan Carlson in Wisconsin. He's a farmer. His website is sonic-bloom.org, I think. Sonic-bloom.org, or you can Google Dan Carlson. Carlson, Carlson. And so his wife had cancer, like in the 60s or something like that. And he was playing around with Royce Rife and the Rife technology, which is you run a sound wave or a sound frequency through a tumor and it breaks it up. We know that this works because this is what medical doctors do. They run sound waves through gallstones and kidney stones and they break them up. I think in 2025, I was in Ireland and there was an alto soprano and soprano that was out in the streets of Dublin, and their angelic harmonies were just so heavenly. It just melted everyone's heart. I mean, everyone was on their knees. And so, yeah. And then Greg Braden talks about Chinese Qigong healers using sound to dissolve a golf ball sized tumor in about 3 minutes. It's on live audio sonogram. And of course, Casey, the famous psychic, said that pure sounds would be the healing modality of the future. Well, Dan was fascinated with sound and frequencies, and he was aware of what the Hopi taught, and he was aware of some of these things. He found that when he ran a 5,000 hertz frequencies through his fields, it generated a 400% greater yield in the crops, not 40%, but 400%. And so he discovered that when the birds sing in the morning, they're chirping at 4,000 or 5,000 hertz. So birds are literally singing life into the planet every morning. When crickets chirp at night, they're singing at 2,000 cycles per second. They literally close everything down. Everything is based on cicada rhythms and sound and frequencies on the planet. So sound is what can really heal the body. They just did a study in the New York Times that showed that certain sounds and frequencies will regenerate heart cells and they'll put them in the right balance and equilibrium. It's pretty fascinating stuff. And I mean, just for me, I'm pretty convinced that the pyramids were not built by people. They were created with sound and magnetics. Yeah.
No, thank you.
I know I rambled on from there, but does that answer your question?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, it was answers my curiosity about your how you came to understand that stuff and know that stuff. I mean, I had come across for the last several years. There's a guy named Tom Kenyon.
Yeah, Tom Kenyon. Sure, he does the Garbandana. I do that.
Yeah, and who channels the Hathors.
Right.
And just how like mind-blowingly effective they have been. Like it's one of those things that opened me up to like, oh my God, these listening to these recordings can just do remarkable things for my not just my mental health, but my physical health. And of course, as you're explaining, there's so much science behind that, and it's one of the exciting things I find in these times is that we're starting to get the intersection of science and consciousness and spirituality in different ways. Where that is being understood, that it's the consciousness stuff isn't all just woo woo. There's it's
so I highly recommend Daryl Anka, who channels Bashar, talks about this, and it's really made a difference in my life. If you listen to the first 3 minutes of Beethoven's Seventh Symphony, Movement 2, it is the most healing things for trauma, wounds, and anxiety that you can experience. And it's Beethoven's Seventh Symphony, Movement 2, the first 3 minutes. And what I do is I'll listen to the first 3 minutes 3 times in a row. It's on YouTube. You can download it on YouTube, listen to it for free, but it's really empowering. Yes. Tom Kenyon's he's a big dude. He's got like a 4 or 5 octave vocal range, and but if you ever go to like an opera, you listen to Pavarotti sing, it so influences your emotions, your mental state, because it's what lifts our energy and our vibration. Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Anyone else want? Again, I really enjoy answering questions. If I can help anyone out, please let me know.
Anyone? Anyone?
I just joined in. Can I have like a sampling of the sound stuff? Because I just joined in.
I'm more than willing to do it, but I've found that Zoom tends to cut out what I do.
Yeah, unfortunately before when you were demonstrating it, yeah, I heard it for just a brief bit, and then the sound cut out. And somebody had suggested that Zoom has a setting called original sound for musicians. Eric mentioned that.
I've done everything that I know. I mean, I was the youngest corporate trainer for Best Buy. I'm kind of an audio guy, so I've got Denon and Nakamichi. I've got vintage Klipsch Mirage speakers. So I've tried absolutely everything, and I think the only thing that's going to work is if I stand 10 to 15 feet away from that. But even that, we've seen that it cuts out. Sorry, who was the person that just asked that question? I didn't see anything there.
Helen.
Helen? Okay. Or if anyone that's on this call, send me an email, and I'll be glad to send everyone my sound files. But you have to have a Gmail address, the Google Drive, and you can they're MP3 files.
So Mark, how has all this knowledge, have you applied it to yourself? How is your health? How have you been examined by a doctor? How are you doing? How's your body doing?
How's my body doing? I have never felt better. I mean, I really, in the last few years, I've had some really amazing experiences, and I feel like, despite the insanity of the world and all the chaos in America right now, especially with all this the leadership in DC, trust my ego, I just go, wow. So I feel excited about things, and I feel so much energy and enthusiasm, and I just feel I wake up in the morning, I just feel so excited. I feel like I'm a kid again. I feel like I'm peaceful, and a couple of things that I've attributed to that. And I encourage everyone, I'm not a medical doctor by any means, but the two things that have really transformed my life in the last few years, especially last year, is methylene blue. And Joe Rogan talked about it, and some other people have talked about it. Gary Brecka talks about it. Gary Brecka is phenomenal. Don't listen to your medical doctors. Go listen to Gary Brecka. He's a biologist. He's a biologist. He has some real science behind what he does. He talks a lot about NAD plus and methylene blue. Every study shows that methylene blue will increase your mitochondria and ATP production by 240%. It's been scientifically shown over and over again. But the thing that has really transformed my life is getting a grounding mat and getting negative ions into your body. If you would walk barefoot, if you would touch trees, if you would touch the grass, if you get those negative ions into your body, you won't be sick. I mean, this is what Native Americans talk about all the time. They say that our shoes that most of us wear in the Western culture, that's what makes us sick, because we're not getting the negative. We're not connected. See, the challenge of Judeo-Christianity is connect with God up there, up in the heavens. The Aboriginals, the Native Americans of the Southwest, the Polynesian cultures, and the Aboriginals in the Australia outback, they all say the most important thing is to connect with Earth. Because you have to connect with, and think of it this way, as your lower self and your higher self. You got to connect with your lower self before you connect with your higher self. too many people in quote new age, new thought, they're always trying to build their house from the top down. There's no, I think, which goes back to what I said at the beginning. A lot of times we have mental challenges because we're not in our body, because we have so many imprints from lifetimes that it's not safe to be in our body. I was violated by my uncle when I was 7 years old. I learned real fast it's not safe to be in my body. And it took, first of all, it took 20 years for me to acknowledge that it actually happened. It took another 10 years after that for me to actually speak about it. I mean, nothing messes with your energy field more than, you know, being violated by a family member as a child. You know, and so those things are what have to be, and that's why it just reinforces it again and again that we don't feel safe in having a body. We don't feel safe being in our bodies. But you can't, do you realize this, that, you know, the Bible talks about to take that which is not seen and make it seen, that which is not known and make it known. You are here to transform non-physical into the physical. You can't do that without a body. You cannot experience that thing of going from thought and non-physical and manifesting into the physical to be a quote creator or co-creator without a body. So we tend to downplay the human experience. We tend to downplay having a body because we're so, it's real easy to go into 11th and 10th dimension. You're already spiritual masters. We're not human masters. And so it's a great, I mean, there are millions, I know this is hard to understand or comprehend, but there are literally millions and millions and millions and millions of unborn spirits that are longing to be on earth right now. Because if we make this shift from 3D to a higher dimensional, people call 5D, they call it, whatever you want to call it, it'll be a domino effect, a catalyst, that thousands and thousands and thousands of other dimensional realities will do the same thing. Because entanglement theory has shown that what we do here, our voices can affect stars millions of light years away, and millions of light years away, stars can affect us because it is all interconnected. It's all one. So we can be literally a jumping ground, a catalyst, because it's never really been done this way before. But we're, you know, we're there. I mean, we're real close. It's happening. It's pretty remarkable. That's what Billy Carson, who talks a lot about East and things, he said, this is the best time to be here now. Do not focus on that which is seen. Focus on what's in your heart, what's in your soul. I mean, that's so important. Yeah.
Yeah. I can attest about the grounding mats, by the way.
I
got
they
one
will
for my
change
bed.
your life.
I've been sleeping on one for about 1.5 years now, and it's I get much better sleeps. It's really incredible. And also just the point of every now and then taking off my shoes with the rubber soles, you know, actually walking in the grass, you know, it's
absolutely,
you know, that connection is so incredibly important.
What did you say about your sleeping? That you have something new?
It's what Mark was talking about, a grounding mat, and you can get them at sort of different sizes. I got one that goes on my mattress, so that I sleep on it, and it just has it's a grounding. There's a little plug that goes into the grounding plug of your wall socket.
And what does it do? It vibrates? What does it do?
No,
it puts negative ions into your body.
It's what?
It puts negative ions into your body.
Oh, I see. What is the name of it?
They're called either earthing mats or grounding mats.
Oh, thank you.
But just sometimes, so just a word of caution. They have the plug, which is like a little tube that goes into the little round. You know, you have your socket with the two prongs, and right below is a little hole. You put it in the hole. Some of them come with adapters. Don't use that adapter because then then, if there's a lightning strike, it could come through and get you. But as long as you just use the grounding one, it's fine. Yeah, but they are remarkable. Totally live. I'm talking total. Dana White, who's the founder of UFC, he says it changed his life too. He had all these conditions that doctors couldn't figure out. They didn't know what they were. He got a grounding mat. It resolved most of them. He feels incredible.
So do any physical therapists know about this?
They wouldn't understand it.
They don't understand.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
Yeah.
But yes, getting back to nature in one form or another is very, very beneficial.
But what
Grounding.
about if one does not have grass? One has an apartment.
So you need a grounding mat.
So you walk on the grounding mat?
No, you just put it on your bed, or you can put it on your carpet or floor, and you can just lay on it. You just plug it into the individual thing, and it's really profound.
All right. For the last 9 minutes, why don't we simply go around and ask people very briefly to say how you are feeling right at this moment. Peter, we'll start with you.
Oh, I'm feeling okay. I was actually taking a call a minute ago, so I didn't hear the last couple of minutes.
That's okay. There will be a video for everyone to watch with meticulous care.
Yeah. But I'm feeling okay. Have my gratitude for certain things, and yeah, I'm okay. I don't have much to say.
All right. Mika, how are you feeling right at this moment?
I'm feeling peaceful.
Beautiful. And Eric, how are you feeling right at this moment?
Less briefly, sorry. I'm feeling grateful for this, grateful that it's recorded, that I'll be able to see it from the beginning, even though I wasn't here on time. And thinking of sharing it with a friend, Judy Thapa, who does Call of Love yoga and channels song with the yoga, which I've been privileged to be part of in person. Also thinking of how meaningful I found music, for me, usually tied with lyrics that I kind of want to dwell on, and but thinking of getting back into more instrumental music as well, and free form singing. And for me, kind of, I found it kind of magical also, just spending maybe too much time with Spotify blends and collaborative playlists and connecting with people through those. Thank you.
There is never enough soothing music to be had. Soothing music 24/7, everyone.
And if anyone wants to throw in any song recommendations in the chat, I would be grateful of any songs that have meant a lot to you.
Instrumental or with vocals?
Dealer's choice, whatever you found moving or healing.
All right. Emmeline, how are you feeling right at this moment?
I'm feeling infused by the wisdom of connection.
Okay. Helen, how are you feeling right at this moment?
I'm feeling that I'm always learning something, and since I missed most of it, I think it would be nice that recording that I can avail myself to go through. Thank you.
Well, I hope your email starts to work, because I'll send an email out, which will include Mark's email address. So anyone here can contact him through that email address.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I've done hypnosis for 35 years, and we've had a lot of breakthroughs with past life regressions and just really transforming lives. And so, which is on my website as well. The breathing technique, the 12 breath method is there, and you can just watch the videotape. But one thing I just want to close with real quick. I just want everyone to kind of tap their hearts to the best of their ability, and I want them to say over and over again in their mind, perhaps throughout the day, I am that I am, and that is enough. I am that I am, and that is enough. I am that I am, and that is enough. And we try so hard to get it right, and you're never going to get it right, because that's not the goal. The goal is to be you. There's no need for you to be anyone else. There's no need for you to compare yourself to others, because you are already it. You are already whole, complete, and you lack nothing. And your whole experience is what you feel is just exactly as it should be. I am that I am, and that is enough.
And you are saying Mark Patterson. I'm writing it down without, Mark Patterson, Patterson. And that website has this breathing and all that?
Yeah, if you go to my website, though, you have to have a hyphen or a dash in between Mark Patterson. It's mark-patterson.com. If you don't do the dash or hyphen, you'll get a famous jeweler in New York City.
Okay, so you're saying I can do that, and then I find different, like for the breathing and all of that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, Chris, I leave it to you to do what you will in the next 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Yeah, well, I'm feeling very peaceful, bordering on serene. So I enjoyed the meeting very much. I really appreciated what you were sharing, Mark.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, quite an incredible journey, and I'm also kudos to you on. You've mentioned several times where your guides have told you, go here, go there, this is going to happen, and your degree of resistance at first, and then sort of letting the universe carry you along. And I think where'd you say you're bound to be moving to next? Denver somewhere? Is that?
There's going to be some resistance to that one, and then I'll just show you this real quick. My story is in Touched by the Light. It's available on Amazon. It's me and 7 other authors that have all had near-death experiences, but it is available now on Amazon.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mark, for
You're welcome. My pleasure. Y'all have a good day now. Take care. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Enjoy the weekend.
Thanks, everyone.